Hey, folks. We're going to talk a little bit about investing in AR and AP automation. First and foremost, I think introductions are in order. My name is Chris Elmore. It says that I'm a principal sales performance advisor, but really, I like to call myself an AvidXchange evangelist. I've been with AvidXchange for 21 years. You can do the math. It's 21 years old. So can you believe it, Matt? I've dedicated my entire life to accounts payable automation. Can you believe that?
I love it.
Tell folks about who you are.
Thank you. Yeah, my name's Matt Shanahan. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at Lockstep. We make a product for AP or for AR automation. And really in my role, I spend a lot of time listening to customers and, trying to figure out what's going on. And, kind of when the pandemic hit, it was interesting. Everybody hit pause and held their breath kind of about liquidity, right? Everything just came to a freeze. And, what would happen, to their customers is what people were thinking about. Would they get their payments? And then as PPP came in, it freed up cash, and it was interesting. So this next challenge came in about how do you work remotely? And suddenly all the underlying conditions of accounting were exposed due to paper and the reliance on Outlook and Excel. And it's interesting, what once was a 10-year digital plan suddenly was thrust into an 18 to 24-month plan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 18 to 24-minute plan.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just in accounting, it was in kind of every department. So the challenge becomes for accounting, how do you get your project at the front of the queue? And how do you think about that? Chris, I'd be interested to find out kind of what you think has changed and why the time now is to modernize.
Yeah, we're going to go through it. Let's say that this 20 minutes is dedicated to, I like the way you put it, get to the top of the queue. Let's give folks some information on how they can get this initiative first and foremost. Now, a couple of stats here. I don't know why I'm stammering here, Matt, but a couple of I think it's because I think your title is better than mine. I think I was a little intimidated by that. That's a great title.
But I only got 2 years into this. You're 21. I think.
I'll take it. So we've done a little research. 88% of the middle market has done some kind of technology solution in the last year. Matt, that's backing up your point about that accelerated path. 64% of the middle market says they have the right technology in place. We're going to talk about that. 90% still does AR through Excel and Outlook. And the majority of payments are still being made through good old-fashioned paper check. So let's get into it. Why don't we talk a little bit about accounts receivable automation?
Great. Well, Chris, as you indicated, the vast majority of collections is run off of email and spreadsheets. And the problem with that is there's really no automation behind it. And the visibility of that is incredibly tough in a remote environment. And when you think about the collections process, these are all the individual things that people have to do. I won't go through it because our audience is well versed in this. But if you imagine tracking this all through Excel and then multiple sheets because people are in different locations, it's really become sort of untenable. So there's really 3 AR automation best practices. One is to automate outbound communications to your customers. The next is to think about customer self-service, the ability to go online and make payments and access your account and download information that you might need. And the third is collections activity management. How can you assign and track the next best activity for each member of the team and minimize, if you will, pre and post-call administration that they have to do? Add some automation, some smarts behind that. Because quite frankly, Outlook and Excel don't have any smarts with it. So it's just one of those things that slows you down. And let's talk about how you measure the impact of those. So it's great. We talked about how do you sort of make a business case around these technologies now that we know what they are. Well, the first is what the impact is to delinquency of your outstanding invoices. What we do is we benchmark companies before they use AR automation. So on day one, we'll instrument and track what is their current receivables and what are all the metrics on those receivables. And then we track every day after that throughout their journey what the impact is. And what we see is when we turn on automated communications, there's an immediate drop in the delinquency. And that's what you see here is automated communications can bring that delinquency down in half and really make that cash come in faster. We also see that around customer self-service. So being able to take online payments, for instance, will actually reduce your past due pretty significantly. So maybe from 24 average days delinquent down to 10, and your overall past due from 24% down to 16. These are, metrics that we measured across, over 100 companies in terms of the impact of these technologies. Also, that activity management, you can see here in the case where things are mainly automated. We talked about those automated communications. There's clearly an improvement on what you do on past due versus the mainly manual. So you're doing this all by hand. But if you mix the two together, that's where you see the biggest impact. So bringing automation and the human touch together, because this is a customer relationship role. Now, how does that translate? Well, the good news is there's a great ROI, return on investment that you get from this by increasing your working capital, obviously the cash from operations from that capital, and freeing up staff time. And that's what we've seen at companies over and over again. A small environmental testing services firm was able to increase working capital, which means money in their bank account. So they could put $243,000 in their bank account and save 1,300 hours annually. An IT services firm that we worked with put $1.8 million in their bank account. And then they're saving over 19,000 hours annually by freeing up that staff time. So you can see here, they made the quote that, while they've been growing, they've only had to add one person to that because they can really scale their collections. A petroleum inspection company put in $10.1 million. That's $10 million. What can you do with that? As well as saving over 10,000 hours a year. What I thought was most interesting about this case study is they actually said that, it was also increased employee satisfaction. That before, all these menial tasks that people had to do, there was a lot of turnover in the role. And now they have, not only great success in their metrics, but they have three, as he says, 3 really happy employees. So I think those are some of the things when we think about building a case that you want to be able to look at. So why don't we turn it back over? And Chris, love to hear some more about AP automation.
All right, Matt, that was fantastic. You know what I love about AR automation is that money in the bank. Wish we could do that at accounts payable. It's a different world when you're dealing with AP.
You're timing that money in the bank and releasing it just at the right time,
That's it.
To optimize all the things that you need to do.
Absolutely. But you know what? We have some things in common. We're going to draw some similarities kind of at the end of this, but I want to give you kind of the state of B2B payment. As I mentioned earlier, about 60% are still paper checks and 33% pay by checks through large businesses. And in the overall kind of payment process of $2.1 billion, there is a ton of money out there. And the big thing that we try to do, we'll just call them pain points. I'll do that kind of in air quotes, is that we want to give, I'm going to kind of handle one of them last, but we want to give more visibility to the process. And we want to eliminate the errors. And, one thing that you talked about, Matt, was this notion of freeing up time. And things are just kind of manual and cumbersome. And when you have all of those things, lack of visibility, errors, and your manual effort, it does open you up to the potential of fraud. And basically our version of fraud is just somebody stealing the company's money. Now, what we do, 4 things, is that we want to increase the efficiency and flexibility of the organizations by simply getting the manual effort and the paper and everything out of the process. So the good old fashioned automation play, where it was once people time and effort, and now it's technology, will certainly increase the efficiency. And then this notion of AP security, if I could spend a minute on that, is the kind of things that we're looking at. And I know it's kind of creeps people out a little bit, but just to be perfectly honest with them, is that when everything is digital and automated, especially in accounts payable, we began to see what people are doing. We began to see what habits they have, and we can even track things proactively. So inside the company, if there's something that they don't like, which is someone's handling a certain expense and pushing that all the way through payment, then they can be notified of that instantly. So I like to say that when you're automated and it's less people time and effort around an accounts payable expense, the outcome is that your security can start to become a lot more proactive. And then the stupid thing about this is that it will save you money. It certainly will decrease the, we've done some studies that we found that it costs about $22 to have coded, approved, and entered into the accounting system an invoice, and we can reduce that from 22 down to 9. The difference between that, the 13, is just people dealing with people effort. And then we found out in our business that if we can increase and improve the relationship between the supplier and the companies that they supply, or the vendors and the companies that they serve, this technology can get adopted a lot quicker. So here's technically how we do it. If you see to the left, an invoice comes in, opened, routed, coded, approved, and then entered into the accounting system. And then it's selected for payment, reconciled, everything is filed. And the point that I wanted to make is, if you look at all those blue squares, what it represents in every single one of those squares is someone within the organization. By the way, if you have paper, someone in the organization that is tasked with doing something. And then when you're automated, all of those squares go away, and then you're left with code, approve, and select. So here's the thing, is that even though our job is to eliminate as many manual steps as possible, that's our job, and to free up as much time as we possibly can. The second part of that is that we don't want to free you up to where you're and this is the thing that people who don't really know about accounts payable automation have trouble with, is that we don't want to free you up so much that you're out of control of your business. So you still code, you still approve, you still make the decisions within your accounting system of what needs to be paid when, for what reason, hold, release, everything. So the whole point here is we want to get rid of as many manual tasks that is burning your staff's time, so you can concentrate on more important tasks. And so here we go. Change is happening. Are you ready? Move to digital. Speed is the key. Virtual card growth. That's all within the payment process. All within the payment process. The whole notion of helping people become, the vendors and suppliers is becoming more happier with their customers. It's getting them paid quicker and getting them paid more accurately. That's the end result of the accounts payable process. Okay, Matt, what do you think?
I think it's great. I mean, really together, AR and AP represents the management of cash flow, and having the ability to really have good controls, but to do it in a very efficient manner, then allows a controller and a CFO to think about strategically, how do we want to deploy our capital, and what do we need to do at what point in time? So I think that's really one of the takeaways, is that automation can get you in front of your cash flow.
I mean, that's what I love about it. But then the similarities that I saw were, how do you want to use your people? Do you want them messing with spreadsheets or shuffling paper around, or is there something? Completely. And so if I could make a play for AR, AP, kind of going hand in glove here, it would be, how do you want your people? What tasks do you want your people to do? Where's their best use? And then how can that impact the organization? And in my opinion, Matt, be curious to know what you think, is that when you look at AP, AR technology on how that extra time is going to benefit the company, it starts to become a lot different than, hey, we're going to buy some more tech.
Right. Well, it is into, what we talked about up front. How do you get to the front of the queue on this? And I think one of the things that, I think about and that I would encourage, our audience today to think about is map out the decision process in your company. Who makes the decision?
Yeah.
What is it they want to see from you in order to make that? Is it an ROI? Is there an efficiency gain? What is that? And then think about how you engage SWK, AvidXchange, and Lockstep to collaborate with you. We're not here to sell you software. We're here to help solve problems. And we do that in a very collaborative way of listening to what you need and what your stakeholders and decision makers need, and then guide you towards that.
I love it. Bring us your burdens. Bring us your problems. There we go.
Absolutely.
So you want to know more about AvidXchange? I'll just speak for AvidXchange. Come visit us at our booth. The one thing we didn't show you was the technology software. We'd love to show you how that works and everything, and start to do exactly what Matt says to solve problems. Matt, what would they say about getting in touch with you?
I would say definitely stop by the booth. Certainly visit lockstep.io if you want even additional information, and then reach out to your SWK account managers. And they're here to help navigate how to get in touch with us as well. So they're a great resource, and definitely leverage that.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks everyone for listening.
Chris, it was great to do this with you.
Let's do it again someday.
Absolutely.